The new kind of tired. When sleep doesn't heal the exhaustion. Have you ever woken up after 8 or even 9 hours of sleep and still felt exhausted? Not the kind of tired that a cup of coffee can fix. Not the sleepy kind of tired. The hollow kind. Like your soul is tired. Like you're carrying weight in your chest that sleep just can't lift. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not doing rest wrong. You might be experiencing something deeper, something most people don't even know has a name. It's called nervous system fatigue. And if you've been living under prolonged stress, even quiet, high-functioning, invisible stress, your body might not be able to fully receive rest. Because rest is not just about sleep. Rest is about safety, about regulation, about integration. And if your nervous system doesn't feel safe, no amount of hours in bed will bring the restoration you're looking for. Let's talk about that, because millions of people are walking around sleep deprived, not just because they don't get enough sleep, but because their sleep isn't working, and no one tells them why. So they keep trying to sleep more, nap more, take more supplements, listen to more calming music, and still wake up bone-deep tired. Why? Because what they really need is not more sleep, but a regulated nervous system. See, your nervous system has two primary gears: sympathetic, fight or flight, and parasympathetic, rest and repair. These gears are supposed to shift naturally, based on your environment. During the day, you move, respond, focus. At night, you slow down, digest, sleep. But when you've lived in chronic stress, your nervous system gets stuck in sympathetic mode. Always alert, always scanning, always managing. Even when you lie down, even when you sleep. And that means your body never truly enters the state where deep repair happens. Your mind might be unconscious, but your body is still working, still guarding, still tense. That's why so many people say things like, "I sleep, but I never feel rested," or "I feel tired all the time, even when I get good sleep." This isn't just poor sleep hygiene. This is nervous system exhaustion. And it's incredibly common in high-functioning people. The overthinkers, the caretakers, the ones who hold it all together. The ones who push through, smile anyway, keep going no matter how drained they feel inside. If that's you, I want to tell you something. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You've just been running on survival mode for too long. And now, your nervous system doesn't trust that it's safe to fully power down. But it can relearn. And in this episode, we'll talk about how. Survival mode in disguise, the hidden signs your nervous system is still bracing. You don't need to be having panic attacks to be stuck in survival mode. You don't need to be curled up in bed all day to be burned out. You don't even need to feel stressed to be carrying stress. In fact, some of the most exhausted people look calm on the outside. They smile, they function, they check things off their list, they take care of others. They even manage to work out, eat clean, and show up on time. But underneath that functionality, their nervous system is bracing. Bracing for the next task, bracing for bad news, bracing for disappointment, conflict, pressure, even if nothing dramatic is happening. And over time, that bracing becomes their baseline. You don't notice it at first. It becomes familiar, background noise. But here's what it might look like. You wake up and immediately check your phone. Not just for information, but for a sense of control. You scan your to-do list not from excitement, but from a low-key sense of dread. You clench your jaw during the day. Your shoulders live up by your ears. You don't even realize you're holding your breath until someone tells you to exhale. You feel uncomfortable doing nothing. Resting makes you restless. you have time off, your first instinct is to fill it with chores, emails, scrolling, errands, anything but stillness. You get easily startled. You overthink simple decisions. You react quickly to small stressors, a notification, a tone of voice, a delayed message. Your body feels on even when your mind wants to slow down. You have a hard time falling asleep, or you wake up in the middle of the night for no clear reason, sometimes with your heart racing. You wake up tired, not just physically, but emotionally. Like your soul didn't get to unplug. All of these are signs that your nervous system has not yet returned to safety. Because safety isn't just the absence of danger, it's the presence of permission. Permission to soften, permission to let go, permission to not be on all the time. But when your nervous system doesn't believe it's safe, whether because of trauma, burnout, or long-term high-functioning stress, you never drop into that permission. You're always just a little bit tense, a little bit on guard, a little bit depleted. That's why sleep alone isn't enough. Because while sleep is passive, regulation is active. You have to teach your body how to downshift again. You have to gently coax your nervous system out of protection and back into connection. And that starts with awareness. When you notice the clenching, when you catch the breath holding, when you realize you haven't exhaled in 10 minutes, that's not failure. That's the beginning of healing. The biology of burnout, why you're not just tired. Let's talk about what's really happening inside your body when you feel that deep, unshakable exhaustion. Not the kind that a nap fixes, the kind that lingers even after rest, the kind that makes you feel heavy in your chest and foggy in your mind. This isn't laziness. It's not a lack of willpower. It's not just being tired. What you're experiencing may be burnout. Not the buzzword version people throw around casually, but the real biological condition that happens when your nervous system has been operating in high alert for far too long. Burnout isn't simply mental fatigue. It's physical. It's hormonal. It's neurological. It changes the way your brain and body function. When you live under chronic stress, your body shifts into survival mode, activating the sympathetic nervous system, releasing cortisol and adrenaline, narrowing your focus, speeding your heart rate, preparing you to fight or flee. In small doses, this system is life-saving. But when it's activated constantly, because of work pressure, caregiving, unresolved trauma, emotional suppression, even persistent overthinking, your body never gets the chance to recover. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, isn't meant to stay elevated. When it does, it starts to disrupt every major system in your body. It suppresses your immune system. It inflames your gut. It interrupts your reproductive hormones. It affects memory and focus. It interferes with sleep. Your body is brilliant, but it's not meant to run full speed forever. Over time, your adrenal system begins to dysregulate. Either it keeps producing cortisol long after you need it, or it starts to shut down, unable to meet demand. That's when the crash happens. You feel wired but tired, alert and foggy at the same time. You can't fall asleep, or you sleep and still wake up exhausted. You get dizzy standing up, you crave salt, you feel emotionally flat, like your joy has gone offline. You lose motivation, you become forgetful, your digestion changes, you feel disconnected from your body. All of this is real. All of this is biology, and all of it makes sense if your system has been in overdrive for months or even years. Burnout isn't weakness, it's a warning light. It's your body saying, I've carried too much for too long, and it won't go away just by sleeping more. Because again, sleep is passive, But healing burnout is active. It requires intentional regulation, replenishment, nervous system repair. It asks you to stop pretending your exhaustion is a moral failing and start treating it like the physiological signal it truly is. You are not broken. You are responding appropriately to an unsustainable pace. And now, your body is asking you to slow down, not out of failure, but out of wisdom. Why sleep isn't working. How a dysregulated system rejects rest. You can't force a body to rest if it doesn't feel safe. That's the truth most sleep advice ignores. You can have the perfect bedtime routine. You can dim the lights, put your phone away, take the magnesium, play the ocean sounds, spray the lavender. But if your nervous system is still in defense mode, all of it is surface. Because sleep isn't just a physical act. It's a neurological decision. Your body has to choose to let go. And it only chooses that when it trusts that the environment is safe enough to surrender. Think about it. In the wild, animals don't sleep when they sense danger, even if they're tired. A deer in a clearing constantly scanning for predators will never enter deep sleep. Because sleep makes you vulnerable. Sleep requires safety. And our bodies, even though we live in houses, even though we lock our doors, still operate on that same primal wiring. So when your nervous system is stuck in a hypervigilant state, it treats rest as a threat. It resists it, not because it's broken, but because it's protecting you. That racing heart before bed, that's your sympathetic system staying on guard. That 3 a.m. wake up, that's your brain checking for danger. That tension in your belly at night, that's your body bracing, just in case. Now here's the hard part. Most people try to solve this by doing more. More supplements, more tools, more strategies. But when you approach sleep as something to conquer, your body stays on edge. It hears your urgency and assumes it must still be in danger. That's why sleep won't come when you're trying to achieve it. Rest is not a task. It's a trust fall. And if you've lived through trauma, constant pressure, chronic illness, perfectionism, or any experience where stopping felt unsafe, that trust fall can feel impossible. Your body has learned. Stillness is unsafe, so it resists. It resists sleep not because it wants to, but because it doesn't know any other way to protect you. So the solution isn't to do more, it's to relate differently. To your body, to your exhaustion, to the idea of rest itself. You stop asking, how do I fall asleep? And start asking, what does my body need to feel safe enough to let go? That's a radically different approach. That's where healing begins, rebuilding safety, how to teach your body that it's okay to rest again. The body doesn't obey commands. It listens to patterns. It listens to signals. If your nervous system has been running in fear or performance mode for months, even years, you can't just tell it, okay, we're safe now, time to relax. It won't believe you. Because the body doesn't speak language. It speaks experience. It trusts consistency, not declarations. So rebuilding safety starts with what you show your body, day after day, not what you try to convince it with in the moment of exhaustion. Start with rhythm, not rigid routines, but gentle repetition. Wake up and go to bed at roughly the same time each day, even on weekends. This isn't about being strict, it's about giving your body predictability. Rhythm creates trust. When your environment becomes more consistent, your nervous system doesn't have to keep guessing what comes next. Next, shape your environment to reflect safety. Dim the lights in the evening. Lower the volume of the world. Create a space, even if it's just one corner of your home, that says, you can soften here. A room where you don't multitask. a light that only gets turned on at night, a chair you sit in just to breathe. These small associations begin to map your world in terms of safety. Your body starts to recognize this light means rest, this sound means quiet, this space means I'm allowed to be still. And then there's the body itself, the greatest messenger of all. Your breath is the fastest way to tell your nervous system, we're okay now. But don't turn it into a task. Don't stress about getting it right. Just breathe out longer than you breathe in. That's it. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Do that 5 or 6 times. That alone starts to shift you into the parasympathetic state, the one where rest and healing happen. Movement is next. Gentle, regular movement during the day helps signal to the body that energy is being used and can now be restored. Stretch, walk, dance slowly to one song, shake your arms out. Let your muscles remember that they're not frozen in fear. Another way to teach safety? Be mindful of inputs. What kind of information are you consuming? Are you watching the news late at night? Are you scrolling through conflict before sleep? Your nervous system is always absorbing context. So begin to curate what enters your space. Choose stillness over stimulation, peace over performance, soothing voices, soft music, silence, even the kind that feels like an exhale. And finally, the most important one, your inner voice. How you speak to yourself matters. You cannot punish yourself into safety. You cannot bully your body into rest. But you can reparent yourself gently. You can say you did enough today, you're safe to stop, it's okay to rest now. Even if you don't believe it at first, say it. Softly. Often. Let the repetition become a new rhythm. Rebuilding safety is not a quick fix, it's a practice. It's a slow return. It's you meeting your body where it is, not where you wish it were. It's you learning to be the person your nervous system can finally relax with. Signs of recovery. How to know your system is healing even before sleep improves. Healing doesn't always look like sleeping through the night. Sometimes healing looks like waking up at 3 a.m., but not panicking. Sometimes it's falling asleep a little faster, even if you still wake up tired. Sometimes it's noticing that your body feels a bit softer in the evening, your breath a little deeper, your shoulders a little lower. These are signs, and they matter. When people start doing nervous system work, gentle breath, consistent rhythm, emotional regulation, they often look for results in their sleep. Did I fall asleep faster? Did I stay asleep longer? Did I wake up rested? But here's the truth. Sleep is one of the last places the nervous system shows change. It's complex, layered, and affected by so many variables, which means if you're only measuring your progress by how you sleep, you'll miss the most encouraging signs that healing has already begun. So what should you look for? Start with your emotional reactivity. Are you responding to stress with a little more grace? Are you able to pause before reacting? Maybe something that would have overwhelmed you last month just annoys you now. That's a win. That's regulation returning. Notice your tension patterns. Are your shoulders living a little lower? Is your jaw unclenching without you realizing it? Are you catching yourself, holding your breath, and then releasing it? That's awareness growing. That's your body beginning to trust itself again. Pay attention to your sensitivity. Some people notice they cry more easily during this phase. They feel things more deeply. That's not weakness, it's thawing. You're coming back online. Numbness is lifting. Your system is no longer frozen and shut down. You might also notice changes in your energy. Not dramatic, but subtle. Maybe you're not dragging yourself through the day. Maybe you get a few minutes of clarity in the morning. Maybe you don't crash as hard in the afternoon. That's recalibration. Your rhythms are rebalancing, and there's pleasure. Real recovery is marked by the return of pleasure, not in big, ecstatic ways, but in the small moments. Food tastes better. Sunlight feels warmer. Music moves you. You laugh more easily. These are signs your parasympathetic system, the one responsible for rest, digestion, and connection, is becoming more dominant. That's where true healing lives. The point is this: sleep is important, but it's not the only marker of wellness. And waiting for perfect sleep to validate your efforts can make you miss the beautiful progress already unfolding. So instead of asking, "Did I sleep well?" maybe try, "Did I feel safe today?" Or "Did my body soften even just a little?" Because those are the questions that point to healing. And the more you honor those tiny shifts, the more your system believes, "Oh, we're doing this differently now. I don't have to protect so hard anymore. I can rest, I can trust, I can return." Daily micro-rituals for a regulated nervous system. You don't need a perfect morning routine to heal. You don't need a 60-minute yoga practice or a full digital detox or a strict biohacking protocol. What your nervous system really needs is something much smaller and more human. Something repeatable, predictable, gentle. Something your body can learn to trust again and again. We call these micro-rituals, not routines, not obligations, but quiet anchors in your day that signal, "We're safe now. You can soften here." A micro-ritual might be as simple as the way you greet the morning. Before grabbing your phone, place your hand on your chest and whisper, "We made it. I'm here." One sentence, one breath, one moment of arrival. It could be a grounding practice while brushing your teeth. Feel the floor beneath you. Listen to the sound of the water. Let the sensation remind you, "This is my body. This is my now." Maybe it's a pause before your first bite of food. Not to count calories or track macros, just to honor nourishment. You say to yourself, "This is care. I deserve to be fed." Or a moment in the car before starting the engine. 2 hands on the steering wheel, 1 deep exhale. Remind your nervous system, "I'm not rushing, I'm choosing pace." During the day, you might create a 90-second downshift break every few hours. No phone, no emails. Just a few shoulder rolls, a few long exhales, a few seconds of silence. That's enough. That's regulation in action. You can build a wind-down ritual at night. Not to force sleep, but to transition out of performance. Dim the lights, lower your voice, change into soft clothes. Light a candle, listen to calming music, not to distract but to signal, the day is ending now, it's okay to let go. What makes these practices powerful is not their complexity, it's their consistency. Rituals teach your nervous system that something predictable and safe is happening, and that's what it needs to rewire. The brain thrives on repetition, the body thrives on rhythm. So the more often you return to these micro moments, the more familiar they become. Eventually, your system starts to shift before you even consciously realize it. The candlelight lowers your heart rate. The exhale softens your muscles. The touch on your chest tells your amygdala, "We're not in danger anymore." And if you miss a day, if you forget, that's okay. Because healing doesn't come from perfection. It comes from return, from trying again, from saying, "Let's start here, let's start now." These rituals aren't fixes, they're invitations, they're bridges, they're the way back home, not just to rest, but to relationship. With your body, with your breath, with your life. Rest as resistance, reclaiming your right to slow down in a world that won't rest, isn't a luxury. It's not something you earn by doing enough. It's not a treat. It's not a side dish to productivity. Rest is a biological need, a spiritual practice, a political act. In a world that profits from your exhaustion, choosing to rest is radical. Because this world doesn't ask if you're okay, it asks if you're efficient. It doesn't ask if you're fulfilled, it asks if you've kept up. We are praised for our output, rewarded for our speed, applauded for our resilience, even when that resilience is slowly breaking our bodies down. So when you say no more, when you choose to slow down, when you make space for breath and softness and slowness and quiet, you are doing more than healing your own body. You are rejecting a lie. You are unlearning the belief that your worth is tied to how much you can endure. You're saying, I don't exist to produce. I don't have to burn out to belong. I don't have to be exhausted to prove I'm valuable. This is rest as resistance. And yes, it's hard, especially when you've been wired to push, to please, to perform. When your nervous system equates slowing down with danger, laziness, guilt. But the more you practice it, the more you realize this kind of rest doesn't make you fall behind. It makes you come back to yourself. It gives you clarity. It gives you perspective. It gives you life. Rest allows the healing to happen not just in your sleep, but in your soul. Rest says you are safe now. Rest says you are enough now. Rest says you don't have to keep running. Because the truth is, the world will keep spinning. The inbox will never be empty. The laundry will never be done. The algorithm will never say, good job, now take a break. You have to choose it. You have to claim it. And when you do, when you stop trying to prove your worth through your exhaustion, you begin to feel something you may not have felt in a very long time. Peace. Real peace. The kind that lives in your body. The kind that lets you exhale without needing permission. The kind that says you're allowed to rest, not because you've done enough, but because you are enough. Always have been. If this episode stirred something in you, if it named a kind of tired you didn't have words for, if it gave you permission to stop blaming yourself, or simply reminded you that you're not alone, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. You could have pushed through. You could have ignored your body again. But instead, you paused. You gave yourself this space. That matters more than you know. If you feel called to share this episode with someone who looks fine on the outside but might be fighting invisible exhaustion within, please do. One quiet moment of truth can ripple in powerful ways. If you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if this series has helped you reconnect with yourself, I'd love to hear about it, whether through a review, a message, or a simple comment. Not for metrics, for connection. And most importantly, remember this. You don't have to earn your rest. You don't have to explain your fatigue. You don't need to wait until you break to begin healing. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to soften. You are allowed to sleep, not as an escape, but as a return. So tonight, maybe place a hand on your heart and tell yourself, we're safe now. You're allowed to rest, friend. You're allowed to come home.